As we mentioned in yesterday's video, Bitcoin is not 100% anonymous and is actually only pseudo-anonymous. And while some of your privacy may be leaking online, analytics companies like Chainalysis are sifting up the details and placing tags on a whopping 25% plus of all the Bitcoin addresses out there. And now we find out that the U.S. Internal Revenue Service, yes, the beloved I.R.S., is using this Bitcoin tracing software from the startup Chainalysis to monitor as many Bitcoin transactions as possible. So if you pay your taxes and have no secrets, then do you have anything to worry about? Should we be upset that exchanges like Coinbase are allegedly storing wallets in such a way that an analytics company like Chainalysis or Bitseer can identify individual users online? And what does it mean that the owners of Coinbase also have an ownership stake in the startup Chainalysis? Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, welcome to Minting Coins. So the news is just nonstop coming out, doesn't miss a beat, and we were just talking about the privacy and the data of people's information leaking online, and some people in the comments were mentioning how, you know, it's a little fuddish with the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of that situation where it's not a direct threat for people's privacy. But in today's news that we're going to be getting to in just a little bit here, what we're seeing is that this leakage of information could possibly be tied into these data tracking companies, these analytics companies, these data companies that have these Bitcoin sifting tools that are monitoring people's Bitcoin addresses and all the different transactions that are stemming all across the blockchain. It's just really interesting to see how this is evolving and where this is going. And every day, more and more light is spreading all across the universe of cryptocurrency and digital assets and Bitcoin. And every day, it seems as if we are just deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole in terms of what's possible, and all of that is really coinciding with the value of Bitcoin as we get closer and closer to the moon, because, you know, if you ask me personally, we think Bitcoin has one direction, and that is up, and we think fiat currency has one direction, and that is down. The deflation is going to help lift up Bitcoin because Bitcoin is limited, and, you know, all these dollars floating around is just not a lot of good news out there, and this information about what's happening with the I.R.S. is going to add a lot of wariness to a lot of different users out there. Just real quick before we get into the news, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been commenting. Thank you to everyone who has been liking these videos, sharing these videos, to all the new subscribers, to all of our old subscribers. Thank you for sticking around. I want to say thank you to the gentleman who sent the Bitcoin donation in 0.0035. Thank you so much. It is deeply, deeply appreciated, and every little bit is going to help keep us going and help us bring you this news on a daily basis to see where we can go, bring this channel, and really see where we can bring this to bring into that next level of information for you, because the world is, you know, this cryptocurrency world is more than just pumps and dumps and the next coin to invest in. This is information about how you and your community can live in a decentralized world where you have as much of that power, as much of that control, as much as that freedom back in your hands, in your world. And this is the channel where you're going to get that information and that insight and that power for you and your family and your community. So with that being said, let's go over the market, see where we are today, and then we can pop into the news, and then let's discuss. Okay, so starting over here at coinmarketcap.com, let's see where we are. So we have 851 currencies. Let's see, we have another one added up here. I wonder which one that was. And so market cap is $149.6 billion, around $150 billion, up there, staying about steady from where we've been seeing it for the past 24 to 48 hours or so. And our 24-hour volume is still very, very high, 8.8, almost $8.9 billion. It's a lot of money to be traded in one day, but I suppose maybe this is a new normal with this amount of volume, with the this new high-level market cap, total market cap around 150 billion. And then our Bitcoin dominance dropping a little bit. We're down to 45.7%. We were above that 50% mark a few days ago, and we've seen that decrease as the value of Bitcoin decreased a little bit, and some of these other coins have had some pretty healthy gains. And so in the past 24 hours, this is expanding. So in yesterday's video, we had 3 coins that were trading over $1 billion in the past 24 hours. And now what we see is the top 4 coins: Bitcoin, BTC, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and Ripple, all over that $1 billion trading mark in the past 24 hours, with Bitcoin Cash and Ripple having some gains of 15 and 34% respectively. And so when we look at that Bitcoin comparison over here, we see that the 8% in Bitcoin Cash is 15% in fiat, and the 26 for Ripple is 34% in fiat. And the Ethereum, while the Ethereum is down just 0.78% in the past 24 hours, in fiat, it's about exactly where it was, around $315 USD. In terms of its value in Bitcoin, it's actually down about 6% when you compare, Ethereum to the Bitcoin BTC price. Let's see, anything else that's interesting? Monero is still going strong. Monero, an extremely private cryptocurrency, about to increase trading, and we're seeing that jump to the 0.02 BTC. Very exciting. A lot of things going on in the space. Dash is going to be having a conference in Europe in September. They're promising a huge announcement, a huge release of information. And I suppose you could say one thing about Dash is that there aren't noticeable forks of Dash happening right now, and so there's just one Dash, and so man, they really have that going, and as does Litecoin. Again, not the issues of different Bitcoins and the confusion and the FUD of these different currencies out there, but with that being said, what's out there, you're paying attention, and we're going to continue following this, moving along. All right, so what's going out there? Let's start taking a look around, peeking at the news before we get into the news. Real quick, public service announcement. I want to let you guys know that there's this article that we saw over here where hackers are persuading or social hacking phone companies to hand over phone numbers, and then hackers are using these phone numbers to get into people's cryptocurrency accounts. So make sure you have two-factor authentication on. Use the app from Google Authenticator. Do not use Authy. Use Google Authenticator. Google the differences. But long story short, you want to make sure that if you lose your phone number, that no one's going to be able to hack into your accounts, just because there's lots of examples, and I'll link to this article, but there's lots of examples where people saw, $150,000 worth in coins being lost because people lost their phone numbers to these hackers. And so just be very aware of that, and make sure you have more than just a username and password to access any of these accounts, including your Gmail. Same thing, turn on that two-factor authentication, because if someone can get into your Gmail, then they can get into a lot of other aspects of your life as well. And this is why this is important, because what we're seeing here, we're not going to go deep into this article, but we're just seeing that Bitcoin could be worth $619,000 in 10 years from a Forbes contributor who's predicting this possibility. And so 619,000, I believe that'd be about 10 to 12 trillion dollars being poured into Bitcoin specifically for Bitcoin to be worth this much money. And so total right now in Bitcoin, we have $68 billion. So basically we would have to 20x this. We see coins 10xing all the time, 100xing sometimes. And all we have to see is Bitcoin 10x once and double once. And then this could essentially be a $600,000 coin. And so we really want to keep our private keys safe, keep our identities and our selves, our information safe, be really careful about how secure our password is, how long it is. A longer password is more important than a password that has all the different characters inside of it, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters. You'd rather have a much longer password that's, some uppercase and lowercase than having a shorter password with that. And you definitely want to add that two-factor authentication. So I thought this was, just important just for us to keep in mind. The expectation of Bitcoin trading is that we're going to wake up, sit in front of our computers, and everything is going to be up and increasing. But the reality is that we can't predict the market. And the best strategy overall is to dollar cost average and buy and hold, because you need to make your own financial decisions and you need to be careful about this risk. And it's just, everyone is an expert until you hit a bad day, and I don't want anyone to hit a bad day. So be really careful out there, everybody. All right. So speaking of being really careful, turning into today's news, we have this article out of CoinDesk, and then we're going to peek at this other article over here from Forbes. What do we have here? Or Fortune. And so starting over at Coindesk.com, where the I.R.S. has been using Bitcoin tracking software since 2015. And so the Internal Revenue Service is using this Bitcoin transaction tracing tools developed by the startup Chainalysis. You got the word chain and analysts, Chainalysis, sort of clever, I suppose, a little confusing. And so anyway, documents obtained by the Washington publication, The Daily Beast, show that the tax agency has been using the startup since 2015, and that they have a contract that's valid until the beginning of September. I'm assuming that means September 2017, in just a couple months right here. And to date, the I.R.S. has paid Chainalysis $88,000. So 2015, 16, 17, it's about, $26,000, $27,000 a year for the I.R.S. to use this software to be tracing, sifting Bitcoin addresses and transactions on the blockchain. So the I.R.S. states in the documentation that it's using a software to trace the movement of money through the Bitcoin economy. And they're quoted as saying this is necessary to identify and obtain the evidence on individuals using Bitcoin to either launder money or to conceal income as a part of tax fraud or other federal crimes. And so, so all this is under the auspices of preventing federal crimes, preventing money laundering, and tax evasion. And so it's no secret that many U.S. officials are interested in regulating cryptocurrencies. The I.R.S. is interested in what...
blockchain in 10 seconds. I don't think it can be explained.
Sorry about that. And so the I.R.S. is interested in this information. Lots of government agencies are interested in this information. And we also know that the I.R.S. has wanted to obtain several years worth of data on everybody who's been using Coinbase to buy and sell Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, cryptocurrency, digital currencies, really Bitcoin specifically. But the IRS has been wanting this information to find these people, and Coinbase has really been pushing back. If you've been following the news, you know that Coinbase has really been pushing back against the IRS from just coming in, demanding this information through the court, and IRS, but Coinbase doesn't, they don't want to just hand it all over, right? And it's really, really interesting. And when I was first reading those articles about Coinbase, I was thinking that, wow, Coinbase is really sticking up for us. Coinbase is really, standing up for us and really fighting for us by not wanting the IRS just to come in and haphazardly, collect all this data, especially against all these people, the vast majority of which I'm sure are more than likely not committing any crimes. So the startup has pushed back against the IRS, as we were saying, forcing the tax agency to narrow its information request, so that the tax agency has now only requested, has narrowed the focus of what they're looking for to just the individuals who are spending who have spent more than $20,000 in Bitcoin, who have purchased, bought, or sold more than $20,000 in Bitcoin. So what I thought was most interesting about this article at CoinDesk is that, as we all know, as we've been reading these articles at CoinDesk, is that CoinDesk is a subsidiary of the Digital Currency Group, all right? And the Digital Currency Group owns essentially a CoinDesk. And the Digital Currency Group also has ownership stake in Coinbase.com, not just CoinDesk, but Coinbase.com. Coinbase, the exchange that the IRS is attacking for this information. But what's then a little bit interesting, when you look at the money, is that the Digital Currency Group also has this ownership stake in Chainalysis. And so you have to sort of think from the business side of this, where if the IRS comes in and just demands all this information from Coinbase, then Coinbase would be giving up all this data for free, right? And why would the Digital Currency Group want Coinbase to give all that data up for free when the Digital Currency Group can make additional revenue through Chainalysis and through the sale or the licensing of the Chainalysis software to the IRS? Why give the IRS all that information for free from Coinbase when Chainalysis can make that money in that licensing fees? Very, very interesting. So on one hand, there is this altruism of protecting the customer and protecting the industry and protecting the reputation, but on the other hand, there's a sister company that's making money from the information that Coinbase isn't just haphazardly giving away. So on one hand, I'm really, really happy that Coinbase is protecting people and not just, throwing out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. But on the other hand, it's disconcerting that this information is still being gathered and it's still being boxed up and it's still being stored and saved in databases and then sold to the highest bidder, and all this information is just out there about you and the connectiveness of all these transactions on the blockchain. All right, so turning over to this article at Fortune and just seeing if we can get a couple more details over here.
Blockchain is a giant VC hype buzzword.
All right, sorry about that. See if I lost my highlighting. Man, these ads are horrible on the site. All right, there it is. So annoying. I hate all the video ads. All right, so just to get so we're going over this Fortune article, even though the ads are atrocious on this. I can't wait until we have the Brave browser up and running with all the plugins. Anyway, so some additional information here. What we have is the Chainalysis letter to the IRS from the co-founder of Chainalysis that says that the company has information on 25% of all Bitcoin addresses. So there's a lot of Bitcoin addresses that ever have been created, right? And the CEO, the co-founder is just saying 25% of all Bitcoin addresses, and that it deploys millions of tags to help track and identify transactions. And so just reading the screenshot paragraph from the letter, transactions in Bitcoin are made with pseudonyms, which need to be tied to real-world identities in order to gain insights about the parties involved in a transaction and their purpose. Our tool has information on 25% of all Bitcoin addresses, which account for approximately 50% of all the Bitcoin activity. We additionally have over 4 million tags on Bitcoin addresses that we have scraped from the web forums and leaked data sources, including dark market forums and the Mt. Gox deposit and withdrawal information. This is just stunning. This is, for me at least, mind-blowing. Because in yesterday's video, go check it out if you haven't already, we were talking about how, 40% of all these different online merchants that were looked at in this Princeton study were leaking Bitcoin information, identity information, Bitcoin address information, the amount purchased information, people's identity, who they are, what they purchased, and that information is being leaked through the shopping cart forums or through different plugins or different scripts that websites are using, such as Google Analytics, such as Google Ads, remarketing, Facebook, perhaps Facebook ads, Facebook remarketing. There's just so many different options out there in terms of connecting to the world. And, if you're not committing any crimes, then perhaps you have nothing to worry about. Perhaps you don't care. But the fact that all this data is out there, and it's mass data that's just being released out there, and there are more than one major data analytics company in the Bitcoin space who are looking for this information actively as if their bottom line depends on it, and are categorizing, tagging, and organizing all of this information as much as possible to connect the Bitcoin ledger to essentially a database of people's identity to just know everything and just remove people's privacy and just have like this big brother level of access. And if you have nothing to hide, then on one hand, like maybe you feel that there's nothing to hide, but on another hand, the whole point of being human is just having your individual identity on the web, having your sense of freedom on the web. When you do a Google search inside your web browser, and you're Googling, health conditions, or you're Googling information that is personal and private, you don't want those Google searches to be sold to the world. And now that sort of concept is what's happening with this Bitcoin, this blockchain technology. And we know it exists. We know it's here. We know they're actively collecting this information. And we also know that they're selling it and have sold it and are continuing to sell it to the I.R.S. for the I.R.S. tracking. So what else we have here? So Chainalysis is based in Switzerland with an office in New York. So it's a Swiss-based company owned by the Digital Marketing Group, which is, most of these companies are located in New York City and are ultimately owned by NASDAQ, which is located in New York City. And what else do you have here? And so there are many people who face Bitcoin-related tax trouble in the future. So let me just say, death and taxes, right? Pay your taxes. I'm not going to be able to hide my privacy in this Bitcoin world. We're not going to be able to hide our privacies in this Bitcoin world. If you know what you're doing, then you know what you're doing. But if you don't know what you're doing, then it's probably best and safest to follow the law and to pay your taxes and to ask your accountant for more information so you don't get caught, in this whole mess of, 50% of all Bitcoin activity being tracked online. If you're connected on Coinbase, then we're assuming that all that's being connected online, and every transaction that you've sent that to, it's just, this rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper with every video. So, And then this article is just mentioning how some users have expressed resentment against exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, and Mt. Gox for allegedly storing wallets in such a way that analytics companies like these, like Chainalysis or BitSeer, can identify the individual users and all of their activities, all their intents, all their purposes, all the different people that they're interacting with on the Bitcoin blockchain and online. Yeah, and then this just ends, this Fortune article just ends by saying those who wish to keep their identity concealed can do so by maintaining their own wallet, their own private Bitcoin cryptocurrency wallet that's not connected to, any third-party organization that's connecting you to your identity. Examples of this would perhaps be something like a Jax wallet or a Trezor or a Nano Ledger S or a KeepKey, perhaps. And then to, receive cryptocurrencies and Bitcoins, as a course of your normal life of buying and selling products and just never having any of those transactions connected to any sort of website. So like in yesterday's video, if you buy a pair of shoes and you pay with Bitcoin, then your name and your Bitcoin address are possibly in a database or being leaked. And then that's connected to who you are, your email address, your mailing address. I mean, any of that is enough to tag who you are, even your email address, right? If someone knows your email address, then wow, they know everything about you, almost as much as Facebook maybe, right? So that's pretty crazy. Oh, so crazy. I hate those ads. So annoying. So sorry about that. So anyway, this is what's happening in the world with Bitcoin, with privacy. It's just another example of where things are going with this decentralized world and the old guard just seeking to keep the grip, to make as much of it under control, to just keep as much of it in a world where they know exactly who you are. They know their customer. They know what you're doing with your money, where it's coming from, where it's going, and most importantly, that you're paying your taxes on it. Really interesting stuff. Everyone's paying attention, and all of this is happening in the midst of legislators and regulators wanting to really make more laws and increase those laws and have laws across the entire United States. And let me tell you, it's just my hope that as this develops, as we get closer and closer to creating cryptocurrency unity across the United States, that this foundation is created in a way that's going to facilitate entrepreneurs and businesses to work together for this next level of Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Because if we don't, and if we continue to, put the hands around the neck of the blockchain, then the really cool technologies are still going to get developed. They're just not going to get developed in America. And everyone is still going to have the ability to connect with those technologies. It's just, most people won't know how to or won't want to, because it'll just seem different or scary, for the first 5 or 10 years. And then everyone will finally catch up after it's too late. And so that's not a place that we want to be. And to help prevent that, we need to spread the word. We need to tell people about Bitcoin, about cryptocurrency, about having their own private decentralized wallet, and becoming a part of this before we hit that $10,000 Bitcoin price, or that $100,000 Bitcoin price, or that $620,000 per Bitcoin price, because we just don't know what this next event is that's going to cause the catalyst with this moonshot up. And when that happens, I think people are going to want to be in the game and playing around, because this is really cool technology. This is really interesting stuff. This is a lot like being a part of the internet when the internet first came out, and playing with emails and chat rooms and websites and just figuring out how all this works, right? Having a website didn't necessarily make a lot of sense in 1998. It was kind of cool and interesting and novel, but that understanding, that technology, that setup for the people who learned about it then, those people are doing pretty well inside the online world, for the most part, and just knowing how the industry works, how the technology works, and just being ahead of the game in every single way. It's all repeating. You're a part of it. You're a part of it. You're here, and we're learning about this together. Very, very exciting times. So tap that like button if you found this interesting. Leave your comments below if you have any questions about what we talked about, or any questions about the information in the show or the information in the articles. And we'll just be continuing to do what it is that we do here and bring you the news, bring you the information, and then to continue the discussion and the dialogue below. So until next time, I'm glad that we're minting coins.